Hi, my name is Joe Blanchard, and I'd like to present to you today a story of how the media influenced a crisis with the Samsung Corporation with the Galaxy Note 7, which was released in 2016. Now, Samsung is a corporation that has been around since the late 1930s, so it has an extensive history in South Korea. Most folks that are familiar with electronics or appliances may have heard of a Samsung. I even have a Samsung washer and dryer in my house. Very, very good products. Samsung is a reputable company. People got very excited about Samsung because Samsung has been a major player in the smartphone market, but they'd always been a little bit behind Apple. And it looked like 2016 was going to be a different year for them. The Samsung Galaxy Note 7 was very much hyped up because the iPhone 7, which was going to be its competitor that year, very lackluster. People weren't excited. It looked like Apple had just stopped innovating. They were just making some money. But Samsung had poured millions upon millions and millions of dollars into making a phone that was really going to excite folks. Uh, and I'll show you an image here. And the Samsung 7 has these curved edges on the side. It was a little bit of an innovation there. And then the phone also happens to be waterproof. Super exciting because if you even touch most of these smartphones in water, they immediately drown. So the hype train had gotten pretty high for the Samsung 7, Note 7. And the media was already talking about how much money it was going to make, how things were going to be great. August 19th comes and the phone is released, and most of the chitter chatter about this phone pretty much were restricted to what it can and what it can't do. About a week later, some new information starts coming through social media, YouTube, blogs. Baidu is a Chinese Facebook equivalent. And there was a couple of images that started to come out that really concerned folks. Right here kind of shows you a little bit of what they were dealing with. Some of these users were starting to report that they had used the product and it had just randomly exploded and caught fire, causing a lot of damage to a phone that cost hundreds of dollars to purchase and potentially could have caused damage, burned somebody's house down. So a lot of folks start to get concerned in these markets, but what happens is the media here actually is giving Samsung a pass at first within the first week of the crisis. Samsung's blogs, tech blogs, folks that are very sympathetic to the Samsung Corporation are out there saying that this must be a one-off event, that the user must have had the wrong chargers, didn't do things properly. There's a lot of apologetic nature there for Samsung, letting them know that, oh, this product had to have been tested properly. There's no way that this could be a really big systemic issue. So the first parts of the media really go out and support and protect the Samsung Corporation within that first week, despite some evidence that there's something to investigate. And Samsung does get in front of this pretty fast. The problem is that there's a lot of finger pointing, there's not any personal responsibility, and there's not any kind of clear plan on how they're going to clear things up. They quietly start to reduce distribution in some of their Korean markets so they can do a little bit of additional testing. And there's a lot of finger pointing on it must be the folks that built their batteries. However, there's a lot of folks who make their batteries in a lot of different markets, so there's no real clear consensus on what's happening. And again, a lot of assumption that this is a one-off issue. YouTube does what YouTube does best, and people continue to post these issues, and they're happening all over the world. And more importantly, they're happening with certified Samsung chargers and products. So it's not like an off-brand charger is really the issue. This is really about the batteries. And Samsung at this point continues to really deny any kind of responsibility on this. They say that they're testing things, and the media then switches gears into more of an investigative journalistic mode. And it's at this point that Samsung is forced to move into a voluntary recall stage where they say, we're not really sure if there's anything wrong, but if you'd like a replacement, we'd be glad to get one for you. And so the response is pretty lackluster. It takes images like this really to set things into motion. They actually had an instance where a person's Jeep burned down with a Galaxy Note 7 that had malfunctioned inside of it. There was reports of a garage that had burned down. This was really a systemic issue, and it wasn't isolated to one bad batch of batteries. This was just a reality for products across the board. They had just designed this battery badly. And so finally, about 4 weeks later, with intense pressure from CNN, the Wall Street Journal, Samsung finally decides to do the right thing and do a total recall, an official recall of this product, so it cannot be sold in any market, and they're forced to reevaluate the product. So the media really has two ways of doing it with things. Sometimes the media can be on your side and try to give you some cover because your reputation deserves it. But when your response is not equivalent to the reality that's occurring on the ground and your responsibility is not being taken, the media can come in like an investigative laser and really force your hand and kind of guide the discussion. So thank you. Have a wonderful day.